Well, hello everybody. I'm so glad that you joined us, and we have got a special story for you today. You've probably never heard a name like this, but his name is Chainsaw. Chainsaw, say hello to everybody.
Hi.
What'd you say? Hi?
I said hi.
Yeah. Send you some hearts up, all right? Yeah. And this is his beautiful wife, Maria.
Hello.
And we are going to, listen, he came to me Sunday. He has got a testimony that we know only God could have done this and orchestrated how he brought the deliverance to you. And so the name of our devotion today is called Special Delivery. And you see the mailbox behind us, so it has something to do with a mailbox. So please stay tuned. You'll want to hear this story. When I say special delivery, it's like a mail service. You know, it involves like special handling and expedited delivery. It's going to happen quick, and that just means it's going to make action happen sooner, and it can be accomplished quickly. And how many knows that God has a quick work?
Yeah,
doesn't he?
Yeah.
He has a quick work,
Yeah.
and you know sometimes we can drag it out, and we can be in delay. We can delay the progress, but God has a quick work because we got things to do. Well, I want to go into Chainsaw now real quick. Because I know you're saying, well, how on earth did you get that name? Mm-hmm. So your father was a tree trimmer.
Yep, my whole family was tree trimmers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I growed up, my dad taught me and my brother how to trim trees, and I trimmed trees for quite a few years out of my local, and that before I went to lineman school to become a lineman.
Mm-hmm. Right. So now, Maria, you told me that how he got his name, because he used that name for his benefit, you know, when he was out in the world. Okay, tell him.
Yes, he got the word. Not to be to be funny, I would just say when he was a heathen. But anyway, when he was in a bar back in the days when he was not saved, whatever, he got the name because some gentleman said he said something sarcastic to another man, and the man said, "I like you so much, I'm going to give you that name Chainsaw." And so that's how he got his name, Chainsaw.
Okay,
yeah.
So he's used it because he works out,
yeah.
So use it for his benefit. Mm-hmm. So Chainsaw, we're going to go into your story. Now you said that you quit school, excuse me, when you were a teenager, but you got your GED.
Yes.
And through your dad, he had some pull with the union, is that right? Mm-hmm. And you got a job, and you became a lineman.
Yep, I've been a lineman for 21 years.
Wow, and so we know a lineman, it's good money, right? Is that the goal that you want to get to, is to be a lineman?
Yeah.
That's when you make some, that's when you bring home the big bucks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look, you guys, now Maria, you can testify to this, you guys didn't want for a thing. You had,
no.
You had anything your hearts would desire of the earthly material things, didn't
yes,
you?
Yes, yes. Everything you wanted, anything I wanted, he always made sure I had. And it was no value or anything. You just buy it. Get what you want.
Didn't matter what it cost.
It didn't matter and everything.
Right.
Yes. And I used to tell him, a lot of things were. I used to feel like we live beyond our means because you keep borrowing. By the time you know, you have to work so many hours.
Yes, to pay back.
To pay back everything. He was way beyond our. Even though we had the money. He used to have to work all those hours, storms, and gone away and out of town to get all that materialistic that we used to live on.
Right. So something happened, though. There was some material on the job site, and you had an idea to make a post or a mailbox.
Yeah. Well,
I want you to take us into the story.
Well, actually, I went to work for a great utility company in 2003. And I had full intentions of working there until I retired. Mm-hmm. And that was my main goal, because then I didn't have to travel. I could be home every night because, me and Maria, kids and all that. And so I had one of the best jobs that a man could ever ask for, especially coming from the life I come from.
Okay.
No college, no high school education. Mm-hmm. And well, long story short is I worked there long enough. I got my own truck, worked right out of my house for 4 years, and didn't think nothing about it. I just took some material off of my truck, and I put a mailbox up at my house, and it looks just like the top of a power line pole.
It's kind of like at the office if you take home extra pens or a paper clip or whatever. You didn't think anything about it. It was just leftover material.
Well, because I was a great employee. I mean, I put in many hours with this company.
It was a scrap old pole they were throwing in the garbage anyway. And so he just recycled and said, hey, I'll just take the pole. And he took materials off his truck, too.
Yep.
So. But
in the long run, I mean, it cost me my job. I got fired over it. I took some pictures of it on my phone, and I was at a buddy of mine's garage one night, showed him some pictures, and texted them to him, and he asked me, he said, do you care if I put this on Facebook? I said, no, I don't care what you do with it. Not knowing, because I don't do Facebook.
Yes.
And so he put the picture out there.
And they're putting the company's name on there.
Yeah, well, that's how it happened.
And it flagged the company.
Yeah. People started
page.
commenting on the mailbox, asked him where he got the mailbox.
Blah, blah, blah.
He said, it's my buddy Chainsaw, the blah,
whatever,
blah,
blah, blah.
guy.
Yeah.
But it went to corporate.
Yes.
Yes.
So and anytime you put a big name, just say, for instance, like Walmart, it highlights.
You know how Facebook works. If you make any company's name, it automatically tags it on their page.
Okay.
Right.
And
they called me in on it, and they suspended me for the first week, letting me sit home, wondering, worrying, sick if I was going to have a job. And I didn't really think they was going to take my job over.
Well, how long you worked there for?
I was there for 12 years.
12 years, wow.
And worked, how many hours did you work?
I averaged 1,500 hours of overtime every year for 10 straight.
Wow. He was the top
so
number one.
I spent more time there than I did at home with my family.
Yes.
Well, so after a week of being suspended, I went in and they told me that I was terminated.
So you got fired, lost your job.
Got fired. So I kind of went into a crisis. Even though I'm a lineman, I can go anywhere in the world and go to work, anytime.
Yes.
As a journeyman lineman, I can go anywhere. All I got to do is pick the phone up. But still, I was in a crisis because I had my own truck sitting in my driveway. I had one of the best shifts, worked 2 to 10. And with Maria, she don't work, so it worked out for our schedule just perfect. And so instead of panicking, I got on my knees and I surrendered to God totally. And I said, God, I'm done. I'll surrender. I'm going to let you have this. Well, Maria bought me a new Bible, which is a Charles Stanley edition, because she loves Charles Stanley. And she said, here, this is the only thing that's going to help get you through this.
This is the only thing that's going to help you. I said, it's your chance to learn who God is and everything. Because I always read my Bible and all the time.
She's been saved for years.
And listen to Charles Stanley. He's my guy. It gold, So anyway, every time I was always in. So when that came and I saw how drowned he was and emotionally stressed, it just took him from felt like he was a 35 to all, his look of his face. It drained him. It actually changed my look within
I
think
2
he
weeks.
lost like 15 pounds within 1 week of the stress that caused him. And I walked up to him and I ordered that Bible for him, and I just bought it, and I said, he was sitting there, and I said, this is the only thing that's going to help you. I said, God does everything for you. I said, without God, we don't have anything. I said, I knew who he was and read my devotion and everything, but with him, it was different. So I said, this is going to help you.
I was just like anybody else in the world. I went to church as a little kid and throughout my life, but I just done like most people. I just went through the motions.
Right. So Psalm 6 and 4, because at this point you got on your knees, and I love this, is when David says, turn, Lord, and deliver me. Remember, special delivery? He needed a special delivery.
Yes.
Lord, deliver me, save me because of your unfailing love. And so that's when you open the Bible for the first time. And I love this, the special delivery, it's a giving up or handing over. So that's what you're saying. God, I hand my way over. I surrender to you. And God had a special message for him, a special delivery, and it was his letter to him, the Bible, the Word of God. And I think this is interesting. You said you opened the book of Job. Guys, Sunday, when you said this to me, I saw this. It was just interesting. J-O-B. We pronounce it in the Bible as Job, but it also is job, J-O-B. And so this had to do with his job, and you said, I mean, it was an awesome job, obviously, the career that made you millions, really, I mean, when you think about it, and God let you know that he gave you these things, but you had pride. Like, we all have a measure of that.
Yes.
You had pride. And so you had to come face to face with yourself. And no job, you said, for 2 months.
For 2 months.
But at this point, you were building a relationship with the Lord, and you fully surrendered.
Yes, I
And I want to read this, and I want to go back onto your story. Job 33, 28 through 30 says, God has delivered me from going down to the pit, and I shall live to enjoy the light of life. God does all these things to a person twice, even 3 times, to turn them back from the pit, that the light of life may shine on them. And so now you got a job, you got a call, and you're going to Texas. Is that right?
Well, first of all, no. Okay, as a lineman, you can pick up the phone and call any state and go to work.
Yes.
Well, it didn't happen for me. I called, and I couldn't find no work. But I found out after this was over that for them 2 months, that's why God didn't put me to work, because he said, I'm going to let you sit here and build a relationship with me.
Wow.
He sat there hours and read the book and everything. And I was so amazed what God was doing, the transformation he was doing to him.
Yeah, I was praying, and I was reading a couple hours every day. Well, so then because I've been used to working my whole life. And so I was like, okay, I've had enough. And I said, God, I'm ready to go back to work. I said, you find me work and you send me wherever, and I will go.
And the thing is, we got what is that? What is that called? The union book?
They call it a tramp book, but it's got every
all
IBEW.
the W and everything. So he sat there and started going through and calling these people up and everything. And he says, well, there's only a couple of them open and everything. He said, I'm just going to choose one and everything.
No, I let God do it. I said, God, you send me wherever and I'll go. So I called Colorado, and the guy told me, he said, we'll put you on our books, and there's some work coming up. All right, well, then I called Houston right after that, and as soon as I talked to the business agent there, he said, I got work here. Said, you come down.
Wow.
Said, you'll be working 6 days a week, which was going to be with some overtime. And so I said, okay. Well, so Maria went and bought me a room through Airbnb.
Yes.
And she paid like $1,200 for a month in advance.
In advance, yeah.
All right. So, and this will be with me the rest of my life. This is my testimony. I leave out on a Wednesday morning. So there you go. Wednesday morning.
Okay. Yeah.
And at the time, I was going to church at Calvary in Sparta. And so I called the preacher and told him what was going on, and he said, that's fine, go ahead. He said, we'll pray for you. And so I left out about 9 o'clock on Wednesday morning, and it's going to be like a 10-hour drive to Houston. Well, and at this time, I've done changed everything. I've done started listening to Christian music on radio. I changed my music, the whole 9 yards. Quit drinking. Yes. So I get into Texas, and I'm going through the radio. I'm trying to find some Christian music. And God behold, I've never heard the man on the radio in my entire days of listening to Maria. Maria always gets Charles Stanley online. And so I go through the radio, and I come across Charles Stanley's Wednesday night service, 7 o'clock. And it blew me away. Well, I listened to it. Well, he preached out of Isaiah on exactly what I was reading on the day before I left. I was reading in Isaiah, it says, don't go ahead of me. You follow my path. I have your path, and just follow it and trust in me. And I was reading that. Well, Charles Stanley preached on that night.
Wow.
So I turned the radio off, and I started talking to God out loud driving down the road. Just me and God. I said, now, God, did you send me here, or am I coming on my own? I said, because now I don't know. Because I prayed and asked you to send me wherever, and I'll go. And you send me to Houston. But so I go ahead, I go there, I get there that night, go in the lady's house, and she come out, met me, and introduced herself, and we talked. I told her my story, and I went to bed, but I read, I prayed. I got up the next morning. I drove to the Union Hall to get my referral to go to work. And as I was going in to talk to the business agent, my phone was ringing. And I looked at it, It wasn't in my contacts. It was just a number. So I didn't want to be rude, so I just ignored it, put it in my pocket. I went in, sat down with a business agent, told him what happened to me, and he said, you know, we have linemen that work here at the power companies that it's happened to too. All right, so anyhow, well, then he told me, he said, I've got 2 contractors here that you can go to work for starting tomorrow. And he said, he said, you can pick which one you want to go. And I was raised with a lot of common sense, and I said, well, let's just Google where I'm staying, and I'll go to the closest one, because, you know, I was overwhelmed. Houston is big. And so we Googled, and this was the first thing that God spoke to me, sitting in that office. It was only going to be 5 miles from where I was staying.
And I picked the place, and I didn't even know.
Right.
I just picked the place.
Yeah, she just picked a random place.
You know, and said,
This business agent looked at me and he said, what's the odds of that? I said, there ain't no odds. I said, that's God.
Yeah, that's right.
So, okay, so then I leave. He set me up to go get my drug screen and get my new hire paperwork. And then I was going to go to work the next day. So I left out of his office. I went out. And I had a voicemail that number that was calling. And it turned out it was a guy that I hadn't talked to in 15 years.
15 years.
Wow.
And so then once I found out who it was, and I thought, word's going to spread like wildfire. All my buddies are going to start calling me, ragging me, and it's like, what did you do? You go do something stupid, blah, blah, blah. So, and he asked me, he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, right now I'm in Houston, Texas. He said, what are you doing there? I said, well, I come down here to go to work. And he said, well, there ain't no money to be made there. He said, I've worked there myself. I said, well, why are you calling me? He said, well, I was going to see if you want to go to work for me. And I said, what do you mean? I said, I've been sitting at home for 2 months. And our local don't have any work right now. They had some coming. And he said, I just had a co-op to call me. And now let me break off here just for a minute. And it's kind of funny that he said a co-op, because this utility company that I got fired from put a lifetime ban on me to ever work on their property for the rest of my life. And I could only work on co-op property. So he tells me, he said, I just had a co-op to call me, and he said they're getting ready to change out over 200 poles on their property. And I was blown away. And he said, so I know your story. I'll set it up through the union, and I'll get you sent out on this job. And I said, I'll come home today. And he said, yeah, but if you want to stay down there and make a couple paychecks, it'll be a couple weeks before we get started. And I said, no, I've been home for 2 months. I can stay another 2 weeks. So I hung up. First thing I did was call Maria. Told Maria, and Maria thought I got there and they didn't have no work.
I said, what they do, lie to you? They told you didn't have no work?
So
I was like, what happened?
So I told her what happened, and I said, I'm coming home. Well, she started bawling.
Of course.
And
I didn't want him to go in the first place. Going to Texas, I don't know when I was going to get to see him.
And I went back in, told the business agent what just happened with a phone call. And he said, so you're going home? And I said, yeah. So I went out and I opened my car door in that parking lot, and I got on my knees and I praised God.
Thank you, God.
And then I left there and I called the lady up to where I was staying. And then the lady, I asked her, I said, what do you do if nobody stays a length of time? She said, I've never had that happen. But long story short, she gave me all my money back in my account, and she charged me for one night. And I left her $200 on her kitchen table. And here it is. I've been back here in Illinois, and it's been 6 years ago.
But now 5 years after having that band on you, it was lifted. And when you heard this, you said a smile broke across your face, and then you started laughing because of the freedom that you experienced.
Maria started crying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I started crying,
absolutely. So it was special delivery, and God gave you back more than you lost. God restored all. And Job 42:10 says, when Job prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes. In fact, the Lord gave him twice as much as before. So he delivered you, which is in turn over to, well, when he says deliver, it means to turn you back over to the recipient, to give you to another possession, another's possession, in which you belong to God. And so through that mailbox, though, he got saved, and so his life has been delivered and turned over to the Lord. I love this. 1 Peter 2:9 says, "But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession." Special delivery, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into this marvelous light. And you had a praying wife beside you. Now you have things, but things don't have you, right?
No,
Yes.
no.
It's like it doesn't have you. And so I would, if you would, Chainsaw, if you would pray, because, I mean, God delivered you, and you can't hear this testimony without getting chills and knowing that God orchestrated this and he restored him. So I want you, if you would, to pray for those that are listening that may be struggling to feel like they've lost all hope.
Yes.
But God just, I mean, that special delivery. He said, "I've got something for you. I've got a message, and it's going to change your life."
It
And
has.
it so has. So
has.
would you pray for our listeners right now?
Yep, I will. Father, I come to you, and I will ask for anybody out there that's watching this, that's listening to this, that I've lived it. I've seen what
Yes.
you've done in my life, and you've turned my life around totally from this whole ordeal.
Yes.
And I never withered. I truly believed that you would do this for me, and you
Yes,
did.
yes.
And it took 5 years for this band to go away. And you've done it, but you've done more than that. You've totally changed my entire life.
Yes.
And I tell everybody that I come in contact with this story. And I just, if anybody out there, it don't matter what your circumstance is, that God can, there's nothing
Yes.
he can't do.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he can do it, I mean, right now.
Yes.
And this is what I would like to say in this prayer. That if anybody out there that's listening, watching, needing this, just remember that God's listening,
Yes.
God loves us, and God can do for you, and even more than what he's done for me.
Yes.
But you got to know that everything's on God's timing.
Yes.
It's not on ours.
Yes.
But God's timing
Jesus.
is never off, and his
Yes.
plan
Yes.
never fails.
Perfect.
Thank you,
Amen.
Lord. Thank
His
you.
plan is perfect.
Yes.
Listen, God has a special delivery for you today.
Mm-hmm.
But what you had to do was just surrender everything,
I did,
everything to the
totally.
Lord, and his life has totally changed because of it. And you know, consequently, I met them in a Walmart aisle,
Yes.
and over a Christian shirt that
It's
you
not-
had
yeah.
on.
It's
And
not a religion. It's a relationship with Christ.
It's a relationship. And
Yes.
so God brought them here to us. And listen, we thank you for listening
Thank
today.
you.
And I know that it's touched your heart. God bless you. And we love you, and have a great rest of your day. All right? Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.